Okay, music. Okay. Hey, it's me again. Whoa. It's me. Let's turn me towards the camera. It's funner when I'm towards the camera. Okay. Hey, everyone. I wanted to talk about, I'm not quite looking at the screen. Hang on. Shut up. This is important. That's good enough. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about probably the most random topic, and I don't even know if this has ever been talked about on YouTube. But there's a particular topic that I wanted to talk about. I was going to make a post on just Tumblr, just some shit post about it, and I decided, you know what, it'd be more fun to actually make it into a video. So when I was a kid, there was this thing in video games that I noticed. I noticed it really quickly. I noticed that every single time in these 3D games, like fucking Final Fantasy VII, shit like that, that a character was going to like put on a hat or pull up their hood or something like that, the camera would cut away. And I remember asking my brother why that was, and he said, oh, because it's like really hard to animate their hair, like their hair matting down. So what they do instead is they turn the camera away, and then off screen they're replacing the guy's character model with a model that already has the hat on, and then they turn the camera back to the character. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, it's way easier to do it that way. So it's just like a trick so that they can save animation time. And so I remember in Final Fantasy X, I believe it was, I'm pretty damn sure it was Final Fantasy X, it was the first time I ever saw a scene where a character put on an article of clothing. I think it was Unalesca, whatever her name is, and she's like putting on a ribbon around her like dress. And it was in-game graphics, it wasn't a cinematic scene. She like puts the ribbon on and then she's like, okay, I'm ready to go, or something like that. I believe it was that game. It was either that or it was Final Fantasy VIII, or maybe even Final Fantasy IX. I'm not sure. I just remember it was one of the Final Fantasies. I'm pretty sure of it. But it was the first time I had ever played a video game where I actually watched the character put on an article of clothing without the camera turning away and then turning back, with, you know, having replaced their model off screen. And I remember that being such an awe-inspiring thing. And this was a long time ago. I was like 12 years old, 13 years old, something like that. I don't remember when Final Fantasy X came out. Let's find out right now. FFX release date. 2001. So I was, yeah, about 13. 1998 to, or 1988 to 2001. That's, I just woke up. Years from 1988 to 21. Yeah, how about just answer the question? Instead of sending me to a calculator to figure that out. Age calculate. God damn it. Why? This is embarrassing. Okay, 1988. Date of birth was November 17 to 2001. Calculate. Okay, it was 12. I think. When's the July 19th, and I put it to July 17th. Okay, that's good enough. Okay. I was 12. All right, so I was 12 years old. Anyway, so because I was 12 years old, you know, that was a long time ago. A long fucking time ago. I'm 35 now. You know, it's been a while. And games still do it. They still do it. They still have the character, like, they're about to pull their hood down, like they got the, everybody knows, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a particular scene everybody knows of in Final Fantasy XIV. Anyone who's played Final Fantasy XIV and has gone through Shadowbringers they know the scene I'm about to mention. There's a part where there's a character who has their hood up throughout most of the expansion, and then there is a point where they pull their hood down. And what they do is they move their hands up towards the hood, and then it shows the warrior light. It shows your character, and they like gasp. They go like, and then it goes back to the character, and he's moving his hands down as though he just pulled his hood down, and the hood is already down. And you get the big reveal of who the character is. So and I remember watching that when I was playing through Shadowbringers. First off, I was like in tears at that part because that was it was a good scene. Anyway, so but I remember watching that and thinking back to when I was 12 years old, watching a character actually be animated putting on a piece of clothing, and I thought, oh, you know, it's at that point it had been like 22 years or something like that, 21 years, 22 years, and since the Final Fantasy where they actually animated them putting the clothes on, and they weren't animating them taking the hood off. Now I understand why. It's because there's more to the hood than just the hair coming out, you know. The hood was like a special model that put shadow over his face so that you couldn't see who he was. It was like a specifically designed hood to hide his face. So they'd have to do more than just animate his hair when he took the hood off. They'd have to also like fade the shadow. They'd have to his face model wasn't even built underneath the hood. It's not like his head was in there and you could clip your camera through and see who he was. No, he was a model literally designed to not show his face. So I understand the reasoning there. You know, there's a lot more to it than just having him take his hood off. But I even thought to myself at that moment, they could have shown a side view when he takes cut to a side view and you've already swapped the model when the camera changes to the side view, and then have him pull the hood down from the side and you see, you know, his face as he's pulling the hood down, and you're like, oh my god, it's him, you know, that kind of shit. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, man, even to this day, we don't animate characters pulling hoods down, pulling hoods up, putting hats on. We don't animate that. We still use the technique of cutting the camera away. And when a game like Elden Ring has Melina pulling her hood down and it's fully rendered in, you know, fully animated and everything, that is like a miracle to see in games nowadays. You so rarely see things like that. You so rarely see a character actually like pulling their hood up, pulling their hood down, putting a hat on. You so rarely see it. You'll see a character like the camera will shy down so you can't see their head, and you see their hands pick up the hat and then move it up off the top of the screen, and then the camera will pan up and they have the hat on. Like, you see them do that trick. You see them do that trick all the fucking time because it is so much easier to do that than it is to animate hair. And to this day, you know, 23 years after I was 12 years old and wowed by that happening, I'm still wowed by it happening every time it happens. I'm still wowed every single time someone actually fully and completely animates a character putting a hood on or putting a hat on or taking a hood off or taking a hat off, and they animate the hair and everything. Every time I see that, I am always wowed by it because it's so fucking rare. It's like the most unbelievably rare thing ever. Like, you never see that in games, and every time I see it, it's great. Every single time I see it, it's great. Now you might be wondering, how the fuck do I put a hat on? I don't.